Hey, good morning. All right, let's talk about immigration. First of all, I'm going to tell you how I think the immigration issue, the illegal immigration and the deportations, how that can relatively be easily solved, or nothing's easy, but how that can be solved, how that can be compromised and negotiated. I'm also going to tell you why that's never going to happen, at least not in the foreseeable future. Okay, first of all, the law is that if you're illegal in this country, then you are subject to deportation. That's the law. Obama knew that was the law. That's why he was called the deporter in chief. That's why he deported over 3 million people during his 8 years. Do the math. That's 1,000 people a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for 8 years. And nobody said much. There was no riots in the street. He was following the law. He was deporting people that by law were subject to deportation. Mostly, obviously, he concentrated on the more dangerous people or the criminals that were among us that were here illegally. But it wasn't only criminals, it was 3 million people that he deported. Now, unfortunately, when Biden came into office, he decided not to enforce that law. As a matter of fact, he decided to open up the border and allow basically somewhere between 8 and 12 million additional people to come into our country illegally by not enforcing the law at all. Now, of course, now there's a big backlash because when Trump comes in, he is now again enforcing the law as it exists on the books. You may not like it, but the fact is that is the law. Now, let me give you an easy compromise. Okay, statute of limitations, right? There is a statute of limitations in this country on literally every crime, from bank robbery to you name it. There's a statute of limitations on it. There's a few exceptions like murder and kidnapping and a few things like that don't have statute of limitations, but the vast majority, even embezzlement and assault, they all have statute of limitations. So they have to be convicted or arrested within a certain amount of time, or they can't be arrested anymore. You rob a bank, and 5 years from now, basically you're free and clear, because if they didn't catch you, they didn't catch you, and the statute of limitations expires. There is no statute of limitations on illegal immigration. There probably should be. Probably should say something like, hey, if you've already been here 5 years or 7 years or 10 years or whatever the compromise is, whatever that statute of limitation becomes, then, you got away with it, okay? We're not going to, you've been here 10 years, now you're married, you got a family. We're not going to take and kick you out of the country because it's too late. We didn't catch you in time. To me, that seems like a fair compromise. But it'll never happen because, no offense, but the Democrats are not going to compromise. They refuse to compromise. What you do with the Democrats is you put all your eggs behind guys like Abreu Garcia, right? This gentleman that the mainstream media calls a Maryland man living with his wife and children. Well, he was not a Maryland man. He's an El Salvadorian man. And he wasn't living with his wife and children. His wife actually had a restraining order against him for domestic violence, for abuse, and he wasn't allowed within 500 yards of his wife. So no, he wasn't living with his wife and children. And he also wasn't living in Maryland. He was actually arrested in Tennessee, driving across country with 9 other illegal immigrants in a van. So this guy obviously should have been deported. Now, he wasn't supposed to be deported to El Salvador, where he's from, because other gangs had threatened his life if he was going to be deported there, because obviously he was a gang member. Why would you threaten the life of a civilian if you're not a member of a gang, right? It just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, if the Democrats would say, yes, of course, these guys like Abreu Garcia, guys that are criminals, guys that are running other illegals around or are involved in illegal activities, let's get them out. But let's make a compromise, and let's just try to say the guys who are here, ladies, men, children, that really haven't done anything wrong, maybe we could establish a statute of limitations and see if we can eventually fix this problem. Where people that just came across the border or people that have committed crimes, they got to go. But the people that have been here for a while, Okay, they've been here long enough that we didn't catch them, so they get to stay. But see, that can never happen because there's no compromise. Again, the Democrats, you guys are being silly right now. How comes you didn't protest when Obama was deporting people left and right? You weren't aware of it? The mainstream media wasn't blowing it out of proportion like they do now? No, I guess. But see, this is the problem. If you would stop putting your eggs behind, obvious criminals and people that need to be deported, and you start saying, yes, yes, we're going to help you. We agree this is against the law. These people have violated our laws. We're going to deport them. But what we'd also like to do is maybe work to change those laws to, institute a statute of limitations. That might work. That might eventually make sense. I think a lot of people, not the far right may never agree with you, but the people in the center and a lot of the independents may be willing to say, look, if you're with us as far as deporting the illegal immigrants that are causing trouble here, then we're going to be with you as far as trying to help the people that aren't causing trouble here maybe stay if they've been here for a while. But when you're riding in the streets and you're attacking ICE and you're overturning police cars, and I know you say it's mostly peaceful. It's like, my marriage is mostly peaceful. I only beat the shit out of my wife every Sunday. You can say, oh yeah, well that's a mostly peaceful marriage, but that's a stupid thing to say, okay? Yes, a lot of people are protesting peacefully, but a lot of other people are rioting. And you're rioting against the enforcement of laws that are in this country and on our books. So, if you want to ever solve this immigration problem, then you're going to have to stop being stupid.